All right, I've hit record. It's definitely recording.
All right, everybody. Wow, it's been fucking forever. Has oh no, oh
How wait?
no,
How many months has it actually? May, and we're in
a month and a half at least.
Jesus.
Uh,
Bada bing, bada boom.
to give you some time context, I've been farming Genshin artifacts for an entire month. My computer broke, and I built the new one. Oh, also, my girlfriend, she got her certification for her course for like medical stuff and now has a job and is within her 3 month period of working at that job before she gets the benefits. That is how long it's been.
I thought that was going to go entirely different for some reason. I thought you were going to be like, and my girlfriend, she's
Broke up
pregnant.
with him. One of the two things. The two.
I mean, you could have gotten married. I don't know.
It's one of the things we've talked about. The reason why we haven't is because we live in America, and America, money-wise, is a nightmare. And a marriage is an expensive procedure, and so is like having a family and all that. It's we get there when we get there, you know.
Pro tip: just don't get married. Just don't do it. Bada bing, bada boom. Money saved.
Pro tip: that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Just imagine. So you know how like businesses go and like for example pirating games. Like for example, Nintendo will look at all the amount of people pirating their games and they're like, we're losing so much revenue because nobody's buying our games. Imagine if it worked like that with people, but the opposite way. So you're like, I'm saving so much money. I never got married. Like
People actually do that all the time. I've heard that before. Like I believe that it's like somewhere I saw on a sitcom where that was like a main premise for like a joke that one of the characters did. It's like because if you actually look at the price of marriage, it's in the thousands. And if you want a more fancy marriage, it's even the thousands but more. And if you want to be like an insane person and have a special wedding, you think about it. Let's just like add up all of the costs of everyone coming. So there's transportation costs, that's hundreds to thousands of dollars by itself. There's the food cost, which means you need to hire catering, that's hundreds of dollars. There's the venue cost, which requires planning, so that could be from anywhere from like $10 to $20,000 depending on how fucking crazy you are. There's the dress that the bride has to wear. So there is that issue. There's the scheduling of like getting a priest to do it, or unless you go shotgun, obviously, then like the venue doesn't like matter as much. There's the cake. You need to get a cake, a fancy ass cake. There's the legal documentation. There's usually a honeymoon. There's what is it? The fucking there's there's the party that also costs money. Beforehand, everyone has like the bridesmaid party or whatever the fuck. What is it? The bridal party and the spousal party where everyone gets drunk, so they hire the stripper. That costs money.
the Bucks party.
Yeah. Marriage is one of the most expensive things you can do besides dying.
I don't know. I think death would be pretty cheap.
It's not. I want you to go on Google right now and
No,
Google
Spiedel.
the price for a tombstone or for a
No,
tomb
Spiedel.
and a casket.
It's
Go.
cheap.
Okay.
Are you gonna? You're dead. You're not paying for it. Simple as
You
that.
got me there. You got
Like
me there.
what are they gonna do? Rob you? Like you're already dead. Like
You're just a
go
ghost in
take
the
it, I
after.
guess.
You're a ghost in the afterlife, and they're like, you're looking at them desecrating your house and ransacking all of your shit. You're like, I needed that. Billy, you're dead. I needed that.
I was gonna haunt that Nintendo 64.
Depending on who takes your shit depends on where it goes in the afterlife. It's like a RPG quest. The less you know the person, the farther away it is. So if somebody takes your N60
RPG quest. Oh my god.
if somebody takes your N64 that you don't know, it gets put at the top of a mountain and you have to go like on a hero's journey to get your Nintendo 64.
I think I'd just pass on at that point.
Well, that costs money, unfortunately.
Oh
Oh
god,
god.
talking about old consoles, I've been getting into a bad habit. Or not getting into a bad habit, but I've realized that I can do something. If I can be bothered, I'll send you a picture of it. But right at my bed, so I love old video games, right? I've got like a
Yeah.
TV set up, like an old CRT TV.
CRT. Yeah.
Yeah, PS2, Xbox Classic with like a bunch of like modded shit on it, so it has like all the games there. Like I think the entire US library or something crazy like that. And then like a Nintendo 64. I'm currently borrowing my friend's like multi-cart. Anyway, a GameCube. I'm a little too intense with it, but to the point,
Okay, what
I've
does that
realized
mean?
something. I've realized that if I turn my CRT to face my bed, I've remembered when I bought a PS2 a while ago that I don't own it anymore, but when I bought a PS2 a while ago, it came with a PS2 extension cord, and I was like, I'll never use this. Like, why would I would never sit in bed and play PS2 and in the dead of night and sit there for a while. That's just not me.
As somebody who had a PS1 and when I was depressed, instead of like doing horrible and unspeakable things, my solution was to turn on my PS1 at like 1 in the morning instead of going to sleep for school. Yes, you will. You will absolutely do it. If you have a PlayStation, like 1 or 2, and you're like, and you like consoles. I mean, obviously, I grew out of it because I became a PC gamer. Unfortunately for my consoles, they don't get much use anymore. But when I was a kid, my mom would come into my room, and what she would do is she would see if the light on my PlayStation 1 was on to see if I was playing it. Because it got to the point where like I got sneaky. I would turn the TV off and have the volume off, or at 1, so I would listen in like with my head up to the speaker of the TV, and she realized that I was very sneaky. I mean, I've always been a sneaky fuck. My dad used to like ground me and take away my like Game Boy, and I would always take it out of his room every single time while he was sleeping and then return it back to the position. But sometimes,
Oh my god.
sometimes he
is-
would wake up while I was he would either wake up or be awake just so he could catch me and be like, "You motherfucker."
That's
and, like,
actually nuts.
Yeah, so we basically played Spy over the fucking console. It got to the point where he just gave up and he was like, I have 2 solutions. I'm putting it in the attic, which I think he realized was too cruel. And then he took it out of the attic because like I was constantly like, where the fuck is my happiness console? And then the second thing is he put it at the very top of his shelf where I couldn't reach it without a ladder. And there is no fucking way at 1 in the morning when my family is sleeping in the same room that I'm going to be like with a chair or like a fucking ladder over there and pull it down. So he won after 5 months of struggling with me.
See, for me, my thing with my family was always the like, DS or Game Boy Advanced under the pillow. And it got like so intense to a point where like, it would be like, all right, like I'd be playing and then they'd be like, all right, time to go to bed, kit. And I'd be like, all right, I'm off to bed. And then I'd start playing and you just put it under your pillow. They didn't remember all the time to check. But then you'd have this game and then they'd check under the pillow one time, but they would never take it off me. Because they knew I'd feel bad if I got found out. So they would find me out and be like, come on, off the console, come on. And they'd put it down. And then it worked at first. I'd be like, oh, okay, I've got to go to bed. I can't be caught again. And then I realized something.
What'd you realize?
I could just get it back. I could just wait for them to leave and go back on it. So I'd go back on it. And it was just this thing of like them constantly coming to check and me being like, no, I'm asleep. Or like, oh, I'm just having trouble sleeping and I have no idea why, Dad. If you leave me alone, I'll probably get to sleep. Don't worry about it.
You gaslit your parents? That's so fucking funny. This is why when I have kids, if I have kids, this is what I'm going to tell them. Oh, I don't care if you stay up all night playing video games. And they're going to be like, what, why? Because the consequences of your actions will come back to bite you eventually. And unfortunately, it is not a thing I can teach you. No matter how hard it is, I will never wrestle it away from you. I'm just going to tell you I told you so when I see your deadness in your eyes when you have an exam in 2 days and you haven't slept in 4. And if I say something like that, they're just going to be like, well, actually, when you put it like that, I don't want to do that. That sounds awful.
With me, I'm just going to be like that parent that's like, now kiddies, don't go on those consoles at night. And then like just not fucking enforce it at all and just be like, I'll take them out of their room. Not like the child, but like, you know, the DS or whatever.
You will pick the child up every time they do it and hold them under your arm as you're sleeping. They cannot escape. Isn't that abuse? They are not harmed.
If you want to stay up, you'll stay up, damn it. And I'll just like not really enforce it. I'll be like, now remember, keep your Game Boys out of your room. And then I'll just go back to watching TV. So it's like, if I catch them, I catch them. But if I don't, then like, whatever. I know that being a child, you cannot stop a child from doing what they want. You can like negate it a little bit, but it's always a cat and mouse game.
It's a cat and mouse game, or it's a reality game. Those are the two, like, the effective, from what I've seen with like parenting, the most effective way to parent like kids is just to be like honest with them and be like, hey, this is actually why it's bad. Because they'll ask you, and a lot of the times like a parent won't tell them, and that's what leads the kid to be curious. Because like, why won't the parent let me do it? Why? And I'm like, and unfortunately, sometimes they don't listen too, which is the most infuriating thing. Like I know this from my own experience as a kid. I assume you did this too, where like your parents would be like, "You're just not gonna have a good time," but they would say it like half lightheartedly because they think I wouldn't listen, and lo and behold, I wouldn't listen. So I figured out the hard way, and they would just look at you like you've done everything wrong and you know why. Have you ever had that like feeling where your parents would just look at you because you're the one who fucked up and they warned you multiple times?
Not really. I mean, like, it depends on like what it is, because no, I never really had that.
So you're not a stubborn idiot. Wild.
I mean, like, the only thing I was stubborn on is playing my Game Boy at night, but that's about it. Oh, God, actually, talking about this, the worst thing that ever happened for my parents. So this is why I say, like, a child will always, if they can manage it, like, will always figure out a way to do what they want. Because I remember I was never allowed a TV. Were you allowed a TV in your room when you were younger?
My family went through the hand-me-down idea. Basically, it's like, if they got a new thing, I got the old thing. That's what happened with the consoles and everything. That's why I grew up with like Nintendo 64s and a CRT. It's because my dad got a PS2 and played games on the PS2, and then vice versa and vice versa.
Oh, that's kind of cool. But you still got a TV in your room by the end of it, though, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. So like, I remember for me, my parents, my mother specifically, hated the idea of me having a TV in my room. So I was like, okay, gotta figure. I want to play Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 on my Xbox, but I gotta figure out a way how to do it. So I remember on my first job, I worked at IGA. For those who have no idea what IGA is, it's just like a grocery store. It's just a small one.
Specifically, they sell igloos. And groceries.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Igloos and groceries. Igloos and Groceries Associates. That's the name, IGA. Yeah, so I worked at IGA. I worked at the checkouts, and I was like, hey, let's get a bunch of money together. My first paycheck, I bought a Wii U. Love that console. Will fight anyone who says it's a bad console. Anyway, more to the point, I saved up another chunk of money, and what I did was I got this thing called. Have you ever heard of a Games Vanguard?
No.
It's and games is spelled GAEMS. It's a like case that has a screen in it. So it was technically didn't look like a TV because you could just close the case. So what I would do is I snuck this case into my room, and my mother didn't check up on me too much, but like so I snuck this thing in, and I would always close it. So even if she did check up on me, it was just like, whatever, I'm just in my room, not doing really much. And it got to having a TV in your room, if you haven't had a TV in your room, my God.
Tell
Kids,
me about
if you
it,
are
kid.
listening. Kids, if you are listening and you want to play games in your room, I mean, it's easier nowadays. We have the Switch, right? So it's not that hard. But back in the day, like, going through being able to play whatever game I want in my room was a blessing. I got so good at Halo, specifically Halo 5 Guardians. Everyone, like, not that many people like Guardians, but I think that was the funnest just because of the multiplayer. I'm gonna try not to delve into Halo because that'll be a slippery slope into madness. But
I mean, I feel exactly how you feel about Halo, about Mario Sunshine. I played the living fuck out of Mario Sunshine. I think I beat that game multiple times, 100%, even though the game was corrupted because the GameCube discs were not exactly sturdy. So I would get to the credit scene, and instead of going through the credits, it would just not load the credits and it would crash. So I would just restart the game from star zero.
oh,
But like, yeah, but like you, I would sit in my room like playing that game and a Final Fantasy Tactics.
ooh, good.
Those were the two major ones, plus the Game Boy / GameCube. Another thing that's very important to like a lot of like the gaming, like I'm just gonna say that we have there are multiple like layers to like the people who like grew up with video games. Like there's the Xbox 360 like a generation where they grew up with like the DS and they grew up with like the PSP. There's the generation before where it's like they grew up with the Game Boy Color and like the NES. And then there's like the newer generation with the people who grew up with like fucking Fortnite. It's such an interesting thing to like see the evolution of like how people grow up with video games, because like it is so wild to like. I mean, obviously you were on like Xbox, Mike. You had like you talked about playing fucking Halo.
Yeah.
Xbox Live was like a Wild West. It's so fucking wild to see the difference in like mindset and the way that like kids nowadays talk to other people in multiplayer and video games. Because like before it was so much more toxic, like incredibly toxic, like for
Actually,
the Xbox Live.
I will say it was incredibly toxic, but it was a case of like, I don't think I ever knew anyone who would get legitimately upset. Like, yes,
racist,
people are being
honestly.
toxic. Yeah, like obviously, like people were being like racist, saying slurs, just whatever to rile someone up in a Call of Duty lobby, right? But at the end of the day, you put that game down and you leave, and you just completely forget about everything that was said.
Yeah,
and like,
it's
wild. You don't take it with you. But like nowadays, people latch onto that shit. Like you going on like Fortnite, if you verbally abuse someone over like the microphone, obviously there's better moderation nowadays. Like people will be like, hey, this person was abusing me, ban their account, and some action will get taken. But like people legitimately get upset about this now. And it might just be me, like, the Call of Duty back in the day or Halo where people would talk and
back in my day.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's 2023 now. The Xbox 360 came out in 2006.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Don't say that. I feel old.
It's almost. 20 years.
You can almost legally vote and drink in America.
Almost. Dear God.
Oh, actually, you can vote at 18, but it can't drink.
Is the Xbox 360 a retro console yet?
Yes.
Don't.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that. It's not right. It's not right.
Here's how you can tell. Go to Vimmy's Lair. A non-copyright. And go to the vault and see what consoles are there.
Oh God. PlayStation 3. WiiWare? Okay, Wii feels a bit more like, I don't know why.
Old.
The Xbox 360 doesn't feel retro to me, but the Wii does.
Because the Xbox 360 was the last real Xbox console, and there's nothing that has been even remotely close to replacing it. The Wii has a replacement. It's the Switch. The PlayStation has 2 replacements after it, PlayStation 4 and 5. There is nothing, and I mean nothing of value after the 360 for the Xbox crowd. Xbox One, all of the games got moved to PC. Xbox One S, all of the games got moved to PC. Xbox Series S, good luck buying one but there's no fucking exclusives. Why would you even... Xbox 360 doesn't feel like it's old because it's the last Xbox that's worth remembering.
Yeah. I will say something on the Xbox versus PlayStation argument.
Okay.
Random tangent. But because I've always been an Xbox fanboy. And something now, we've hit a point where it's not that PlayStation has like faltered or done anything bad, but I think just how Xbox operates with a lot of backwards compatibility and stuff like that, we've hit a weird like stride where Xbox almost feels like it's not like a good again, but like, not to say that it was ever too bad. I mean, obviously in the last generation, PlayStation, me as an Xbox fanboy, I can say that PlayStation dominated that. But
yeah, you'd have to be like unironically delusional to be like, yeah, the Xbox One was a better console than the PS4. I think if you said that, I might actually have a stroke.
Nah, what are you talking about? Everybody loves the original Xbox One. I still have mine. I tried to get rid of it, and EB Games didn't
literally
take
bricked.
it. Ooh.
And I'm too lazy to fix it.
Rough. Anyway, as I was saying, so like we've hit a point now where PlayStation is like innovating and Xbox is like family. And I mean that in the sense that PlayStation is constantly releasing new stuff. In the sense of like
better graphics, more exclusives.
Better graphics, more exclusives.
Whereas
they're
Xbox is like,
edge.
hey, you want a Game Pass? And you're like, Dad, this is not going to make me buy the Xbox. Yeah, it's okay. It's on the PC too. Why is it called the Xbox? It's the Xbox Game Pass. Don't worry about it. Well, what's on it? Every single game that you could possibly want for $5. What?
Yeah, right?
What
like,
the fuck?
It's got a whole bunch of games, and you can play them from any console, provided it's not like an Xbox Series X game and you're playing it on the Xbox 360 or something. But like, you know, you can go back and play all of these games on the latest console. So I found that like you can just, if you stay with Xbox, it's like family because it never leaves. You will always have everything you've ever owned. But PlayStation, yes, it does have PS4 backwards compatibility, but it caps off at a certain point. And everything you've had for a while just stops. Also, about PlayStation, don't get me started about what their latest hardware reveal thing was. Whoa. That was rough.
What was it? What was it? I didn't even hear about it.
Oh, okay. So they, from what I remember, they released special Xbox earbuds. Sorry, PlayStation earbuds. Earbuds? Can I speak? Jesus. Sorry, they released PlayStation earbuds. PlayStation earbuds, and they released possibly just the most stupidest idea. And I think it's meant to combat the Nintendo Switch, but I don't know what they expected for it, because it won't. So what they've released is essentially a PlayStation Switch, which is
I'm on board so far.
Okay, it sounds good until I explain it. So you
Yeah,
have
that's why I'm here. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Just
You have
I'm waiting for the coin to drop.
You have the screen. You have the one controller, but like cut in half and stuck at the edges, very similar to Switch.
This
But
is
you
all
can't
standard
take
so
the
far.
You can't take the controllers off,
All right.
and the tablet is just used to stream the console.
I am confused.
So
You've now lost
how-
me. No, I know what
You know-
you mean by stream the console. You mean that. Wait.
they made a
Are you
Wii
talking
U
about-
gamepad.
Yeah, I'm like, why? That's not a Switch. Like, you know that like dial-up sound on the like meme. My brain did
Oh,
a
yeah.
dial-up sound when you did that. I'm like, what? What? And I'm like, wait, that's the Wii U. What the fuck is that? It can't be. You can't be right. That can't be right. That's not real. What?
But
That's
yeah,
upsetting me.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's what they revealed. I don't know what they were expecting. I don't think anyone's going to buy it.
I
but
have more than one
it's here.
question. I have many questions, and I'm going to Google them now so we can go over them and discuss. PlayStation Wii U. Wii U. Why is PlayStation making a Wii U?
Here we go. PlayStation.
Project Q Distance. I'm just trying to figure it out. Well, it's not telling me. No. No, you need to be on. Okay, so it seems like it's like an always online Switch. Like you have to be on the internet.
Yeah.
So it's what every single console person is dreaded for their entire life. They're like, why do you have to be always online? And now everything's fucking always online. Why are there no discs with things anymore? Do you remember when that was going to be a thing and every single person under the sun was like, no, what the fuck is wrong with you?
When what was going to be what, sorry?
When discs were going to be gone forever.
Oh,
For
that was
the
it going to
gaming
be a
industry.
thing?
Oh, you don't know about this. So, I believe it was either PS4 or the Xbox. I think it was the PS4. Or no, it was the Xbox One where it's like, well,
Oh, wait, sorry. The whole, like, everything going, like, all digital and discs
Yes.
were going to die out? Oh,
Yes.
my God.
I'm so happy that's not a thing anymore because I wouldn't be able to buy my fucking $15 used tampons from GameStop to put on my computer and my PS4.
Oh my God. Look, buying games physically is always better than digital because you just have it, it's there, and it can sit on a shelf and you can do it. If you want to give it to a friend, here, play this game. If you want to play it yourself, you put it in the console. The only thing that sucks about having discs is if you wanted to, you can't just easily switch from one game to the next. You have to put a disc in and take a disc out. But, like, who cares? It's nice having a disc. It's physical storage. It's part
That's
of
some
the reasons.
like American ass thinking. That's like something an American would do. And as an American, I have never been more proud of my friend who's not an American.
I
Damn
collect
straight we'll be late.
VHS tapes. Like, physical, I collect VHS tapes. physical storage is king, right? Like, it's why I have all the old consoles and I don't pirate. Like, I
Physical
pirate.
storage is. You don't pirate, no.
I just buy stuff that other people.
You and I
pirate.
will not specifically play Mario emulated games where we do ROM hacks and we do a ROM hack. We are not gonna do that.
No,
Nope.
definitely not.
No, we're not
Doesn't
gonna
sound
play
like us
a
at all.
ROM hack. No, we're not gonna play a Mario 64 ROM hack soon as a collaboration. No, that's not what we're gonna do.
Definitely not. Doesn't sound like me at all.
If you cut this out of the podcast, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. I'm gonna be like, "What? Why would you cut that out?" It's not like we've committed to it. I guess
Hey
if we said
Nintendo,
it
I'm
on the
gonna pirate all your software.
Hey
Sue me.
Nintendo, please don't sue. Please don't sue him. He's just fucking with you. He has no limbs or arms. He cannot pirate any of your software. He cannot press the buttons. We are
I'm also
operating
broke.
this. He's also broke. Yeah, we know this. Nintendo here. We couldn't sue Kit Coffee because if we sued Kit Coffee, we would get no money.
We'd feel
like,
bad.
what- Yeah, we'd feel bad. We'd give him like a hot dog and send him on his way.
Honestly, if Nintendo sent me a hot dog, I'd be pretty happy. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
It would be a
actually,
Nintendo brand hot. It'd be a Yahoo!
that would be a very Yahoo moment.
Yippee!
Oh gosh, actually, talking about
Hap.
Nintendo, I will say one thing with Nintendo. I feel like they are very much winning so far the generation of console. Like,
I disagree with that sentence because it's not really the same generation because the Switch was released at the same time as the PS4 and it's still the Switch.
yes,
The Switch is 5 years old, kid. The PS5 and the Xbox new one are like 2 years old. The Switch
It's
is the old
most-
grandpa in the infirmary right now.
yeah, but like games are still coming out for it. There's not a new revision. So what I would more so say is that instead of having two consoles, it's got two lifespans to an extent. It survived the PS4 era. Now with the new consoles, it's almost seemed like it's a very spry old man. He keeps coming out with new stuff, and everyone loves it.
Well, it's not the fact that he's an old man that's making it impressive. It's the fact that his parents are his parents. You know? The Switch's issue has never been that like it's lacking the ability to do what it needs to do. Because it is probably if they wanted to support the Switch, they could do it for another 10 years because the Switch is like the darling console for indie games. There would be indie game support for that console for the end of time. The issue with the Switch is that it's a Nintendo console, and Nintendo has describing modern Nintendo to an old to like anyone is like trying to describe holy shit, Nintendo's like an indescribable problem. It's like it's like it's like you're eating ice cream, right?
Right.
Sure. Nintendo is going to taste great every fucking time. They always have the best ice cream flavors. They're a good store. They're like at first they were mom and pop, and now they've branched out across the country and they're doing their thing and they're delicious. But unlike like a healthy snack, every time you eat Nintendo, like a Nintendo brand ice cream, you're like, something feels wrong under the surface here. I don't feel so good. And that's Nintendo as a company.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, Nintendo as a company, they make the best fucking games on the planet, right? but they are the worst company out of all of the companies to Nintendo fans.
Yeah.
So, like, you can say things like, well, the Switch had the best games and all. But then you look at what happened. You see things like Nintendo Online being like a thing that should have been free for the last decade, and it now costing $60 on an emulator on your Switch. And you're like, that doesn't make sense. And then you think of things like the fact that the Switch has had the Joy-Con issues for its entire lifespan, and it has never, ever been fixed. Ever. Like, ever. I believe it's even an issue on the Switch Lites, which is even more of a problem.
Yeah.
So, the issue with the Switch, when I'd say winning the console war, is not that it's, like, it's old. It's that Nintendo, it's really, like, everything surrounding the Switch just makes me feel icky inside. Even if every time I turn on my Switch, every game on the Switch is, like, the best fucking thing I've ever played.
Okay, I get what you mean now. Like, the best way I can explain it is like every time when you play on like PlayStation, right, and you get the controller, or at this point as well, now the Xbox, where you turn it on, you boot up a game, and you start playing, and everything is supported. Don't have a problem. You get the controller, you open the box, you get the controller, and you're like, ooh, this is nice. I don't like the adaptive.
It just fucking works.
Yeah, it just works, and you have that satisfaction of it just working. I don't like the adaptive triggers on the PS5, though. That's a different thing. But
hey, at least it's a functional controller.
Yeah, at least it's a functional controller. But with the Switch, you open it up, you get it out, and like you start playing it, and then you have your first problem. And you're like, oh, maybe like a button's a little sticky. Or, the game's
the Joy-Con starts to drift a little bit.
Joy-Con drifts a little bit. Your friends start complaining. And then all of a sudden, you really enjoy the games. But you're never at ease because there's always the chance that something, somewhere, could go wrong. Anywhere from, like a misinput just because like the buttons are a little weird.
Or the shitty internet.
Or the shitty internet. To your console's bricked.
And it's like the issue with the Switch is it's not that like the Switch has bad software or it's like an easy thing to like crash. It's that fuck dude. Like it's not a good feeling when you buy a $70 controller and it goes and it breaks in like 6 months. I have bought like $8 controllers, and those controllers have lasted me 2 years. And you buy Joy-Cons, and they last you like 2 weeks if you use them enough. It's insane, and the fact that they're always sold out everywhere, and they're always like $70 fucking dollars, and a Pro controller is like $80 or like $60, I guess, depending. I haven't checked the price. Like, and isn't the default controller that comes with the Switch like? Okay, yeah, sure. The Joy-Cons are great, but the default experience should not be an experience that's broken. Like, if you as a guy walk into a bar and are trying to have a nice time, and every single drink you get has a 1 in 5 chance of being spiked after the first 2 drinks, you would not want to go to that bar. The only reason you're at that bar is because apparently the payoff is that everything at that bar is fucking great. But it's insane that the trade-off for like the insanity that is Nintendo's quality of game creation is that they treat their fans like shit, that their hardware, they don't give a shit about their hardware, and they dry up their fans' wallets with the hardware. That they go after every single thing when it comes to any fan games, that they have draconian enforcement, draconian internet, and like it sucks because everything else about the company is great. For example, their CEO gets paid less money than like other insanely popular like gaming companies because they use that money and allocate it towards developers. Their developers are like the CEOs are willing to take pay cuts to get things out. Their employees apparently have like decent vacation time. Like they make their stuff like marketable for like everyone, and they have a quality of games, and they are willing to delay games to make them better. These are all insanely good things. Why like all they have to do is just not be a dick to their customers, and they'll be the best company ever made in the industry.
Oh, 100%.
This has gone from the let us talk about what is the best console of the generation to God damn it, Nintendo. You're so close. God damn it, Nintendo.
We're just fucking with Nintendo. We're always edging. There's always something. We can never just get there.
You never just get there. Like fucking Tears of the Kingdom, brilliant game. It lags on the Switch though.
Oh, yeah, same with Breath of the Wild. Like, it's just, ugh. Actually, talking about Nintendo, I'll give them a dub for something recently.
Okay.
Pikmin. Re-releasing the first, second... Actually, having all the games be available on Switch, fucking astounding. The biggest dub ever, because I was not going to play them on GameCube. I wasn't going to play them on Wii. Like, I wasn't going to emulate them. I wasn't going to emulate them. But, like, making the first and second one on a double pack, so you could just... And, like, not that expensive either. I'm pretty sure they were, like, 60 Australian. So, like...
That's wild.
You know, that's fairly recent. Fairly reasonable. And you get 2 games for that. And then the third game, or the deluxe version of the third game coming to Switch is awesome. And then you're going to be able to play the fourth game. So right now I'm playing through all the games until like the fourth
Pikmin
one
was
comes
fucking
out.
incredible. Pikmin is how far are you in the first one or the second game right now?
Second game. Actually, I will say something about the first game.
Okay.
I did not realize that it was just like... So I didn't realize how much the first game would just be like it's like its own little entity, right? You know when you play first games and like...
Yes.
They just exist where it's like, you know, it's the first game, so it doesn't have a lot of that polish that you
it's
like
the proof of
were
concept,
expecting. Yeah, it's a proof of concept. And like, I kind of love it. Like, I look at that game and I'm like, I could speedrun the hell.
Pikmin 1 is so much fun. The issue is Pikmin 1 solves a lot of the issues that Pikmin 2 created by being bigger, which is Pikmin 2 has a lot of middling time where you're like, I don't really have a time limit, so fucking... Because there's no time limit in Pikmin 2. It just harder enemies spawn after you like get past like the time limit of like the soft time limit of 30 days or some shit like that. So... But Pikmin 1, the time limit actually feels like it's important, so because the levels are so condensed and there's not like 80 billion things to do, you can actually plan out your fucking thing, and as you fuck up and you go through bad runs, you can go back and you've been like, I can do this better this time. Like, it has that like progression that's essential to a game where you're learning things and you're exploring. And you need to do things in a timely manner. Whereas, like, the other Pikmin games are not as timely, so they don't have the same, like, pressure on your fucking brain. You just kind of can relax and play them.
I will say, so far, like, I haven't finished Pikmin 2, but I just want to play Pikmin 3, man. Like, it's just so much better. Like, Pikmin 1 is a proof of concept, and it's fun because it's its own, like, little thing. Pikmin 2 in certain aspects is better than Pikmin 1, but it also has, like you say, its own problems. But Pikmin 1 can be seen as its own game, but Pikmin 2 just makes me want to play Pikmin 3.
Well, as somebody who's not played most of Pikmin 3, I assume you're right, because I assume that Pikmin 3 has like a bunch of underground shit.
I don't think Pikmin 3 has any underground stuff.
That's like most of what makes Pikmin 2 interesting. It's the underground caverns and shit.
Oh god, it's that underground stuff. It's getting to me. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah, that's like
I
the
like
main...
going to it. I like going to an area, seeing like, oh, here's all the trash that I need to like get, and then it's like a little puzzle, right? So you go there, and well, it actually is a puzzle. Like some things are a little bit further away, so you can't just get to them. So then you have to get yellow Pikmin and come back. Or some things will be next to a gap of water, or like a combination of things. But Pikmin 2 is just like, you know, it's a puzzle to get to somewhere. It's never a puzzle to completion, so it just gets just a little too long for me.
And I think that's just the ambition of like of the expansiveness of the game. I think what happened was they flew too close to the sun when it came to the quantity and the quality of that quantity, that they kind of botched it when it comes to the design aspect. Because like all of the the game design. Like, all of the thematical aspects of Pikmin 2 are brilliant. All of the levels are cool as fuck. But they're all very repetitive from, like, a gameplay standpoint, except for, like, a couple of standouts. But, like, if you play 20 hours of a game and you only remember 3 things of that game, that's not a concise... Like, for example, you can go something in the opposite direction of, like, Pikmin 1, and you could be like Persona. The Persona games do not feel samey, which is quite frankly fucking insane, because the games are like 60 to 120 hours long. It's insane
100%.
It's insane that in a 120-hour long game, I remember like most of what happens in the story. That is not... It's because like the gameplay aspects and the design of the dungeons and shit are all unique, and also because you're constantly having to think of all of the elemental stuff, and everything is a unique puzzle. Even if you have a fucking... Well, I guess if you don't have a guide. The only thing I used a guide for was making sure that I don't fuck up some of the confidants.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, learning attack patterns and memorizing it and doing stuff for, like, your friends and going on, like, dates and shit... Since that's unique, and since there's like meat there, and everything is like it's a unique thing that ties together, you can have a game as long as you want, and it can be memorable. But in a game like Pikmin 2, they don't have unique experiences from a gameplay perspective. What they do is they flavor like 80% of the dungeons, it just feels like they retexture it. It's a retextured version of the same dungeon.
Yeah.
Where you go in, interesting new enemy shows up. But enemy becomes less interesting because you kill it, and then you use it as money. Go down, golden beetle. Or go up if you're in one of the toy levels. More enemies. Oh, you dig up trash. Repeat for the next level. Boss. And that's it for like 20 hours. The only exception is the water wraith level, which I don't know if you've gotten there yet.
The water wraith level?
Ooh.
Is that the last one?
No.
Because I do know that there is apparently something in Pikmin 2 that lives in infamy. Like there's a boss or something like that, and it is absolutely terrifying. Supposedly.
Have you gone to the only blue Pikmin dungeon?
I don't think I have.
So there's a dungeon that you can only go to with blue Pikmin, and there's this creature called the water wraith. You can't kill it with blue Pikmin.
Oh.
I'll let you put 2 and 2 together and figure out what that means for the gameplay.
Is that the one where you just run away?
I wouldn't say running away is the proper definition of what the fuck happens. Because you still have to do things, and that fucking dungeon is memorable because that's the only fucking dungeon I think there's actually like unique, brutal like that fucking dungeon drove me up a wall, like not in a bad way. Because, like, it pressures you because you are on a time clock constantly because this fucking thing goes back and forth, and you have to do like, positional puzzles with your blue Pikmin to figure out where you put your fucking blue Pikmin. And you're constantly looking around on the map. And because you're doing that to see all the stuff, you see the thing coming towards you every time, and you're like, oh no, hurry, 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 hurry. And it gives you this fucking feeling of anxiety every time you play that level. It's a good experience, honestly. I'm surprised you haven't gotten there yet, but like it is, like describing it does not do it justice, like in the slightest. You're gonna forget I talked to you about this, and then when it comes up, you're gonna be like, oh my god, Speedo told me about this. What the fuck was he talking? Oh nah. So
with Pikmin 2, I think I'm about halfway through. I've definitely paid off half of debt.
oh, crazy.
But like something I will say, going back to Persona, because God, I love Persona, with making everything interesting and unique. God bless them for doing that. Like it's made it not only so that every game is unique, and that's awesome, but it means that every game feels similar in mechanics but different in execution. So when you play a game, you can pick a favorite. Normally it's everyone's first Persona game I played and finished, Persona 4 Golden. Loved it to death. Like hands down is my favorite one, and I love the cheeriness of it. It's all happy and nice. I love that. And then you go to Persona 3. The people who usually played that first, they're like, ooh, I love the depressing aura. Ooh, it's all sad and ooh, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? Completely valid. No one is going out, except for Persona 5, but no one is going out here going and saying that a game is worse than the others. Persona 5 is the only one that I've seen where people have been like, no, Persona 5's better, it's on a newer console. And like that died off after a while. Like we're finally at the point where I feel like,
I mean, I've always been like, that's because like here's a very obvious example of why Persona 5 is not always better than Persona 4 or Persona 3. The confidant writing in Persona 5 is marginally worse than it is in Persona 4 and Persona 3. Because in Persona 4 and 3, it doesn't... Your character is not the fucking center of everyone's fucking attention for the first... And they don't all do the same trope where they hate you. Except for like the 3 characters in Persona 5 that don't do that. Because there are a couple where it's like... The adult characters of Persona 5 are actually pretty good confidants. They're all weird, but like every single Persona 4 confidant and most of the Persona 3 confidants aren't interesting, whereas a lot of Persona 5's confidants feel like they're fan servicey. Which sucks because it feels like a step down, because the Persona 4 and 3 confidants, I haven't played most of Persona 3, but I've heard many times over and over again that Persona 3 is a very good like confidant has very good confidants. As somebody who's like done 95% of the confidants in Persona 4, except for the fucking fox, the confidants feel like it's more about them telling you a story about and teaching you a lesson. It feels like it's more like you're just learning about what it feels like to be in a certain type of person's shoes. Whereas in Persona 5, it feels like you're just trying to snog someone.
Yeah, right? Okay. 100%. Persona 4, it feels like you're learning about people, and it doesn't always feel like you're the center of attention. Yes, you technically are because you're the main character, but
I did not feel that fucking way during the during like the death confidant, or like the Sojiro confidant, or like any of the confidants where like there's a tragedy that's like actually gripping. You're not the center of attention, like you said.
Yeah.
And you have more to say about this, obviously.
Yeah. So like with Persona 4, like the way that you talk to people, or technically not talk, but because they talk to you, but the way that you interact with people, it feels different because you're not like, for example, Persona 5, you've been wronged. You tried to save a lady, and you have a certain amount of days before everything goes wrong, basically. You're the Phantom Thieves. It starts out in the first section that you're going to be expelled from school. But
you stupid adults.
Yeah, you're going to be expelled from school. It's not your friends. You specifically, you're forced to do something. Persona 4.
It doesn't fucking matter what you do.
Yeah, there's just a murder going on, and you decide to help out. And you go through, and like there's this other guy, and yes, you're still technically the main character, so you are the center of attention. But like, it's not like Persona 5 is like Joker and the Phantom Thieves. Persona 4 feels like we're part of the Discovery team. Like it's not
Scooby-Doo gang is. My favorite YouTube reviewer, fucking, I think Yahtzee Croshaw from Zero Punctuation, they called it the Scooby-Doo gang, and I don't think there's a more apt comparison to consider.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. They're like the Scooby-Doo gang where like they figure out who the big bad is. Whereas Persona 5, it's like everyone just ego stroking your dick. It's like, I don't need to have my ego stroked like this. I already know what type of... I'm playing a JRPG. And yeah, sure, for some people it's great fan service, but for me, it kind of felt like there's like half of the confidants in that game were like great, right? But the other half where I was just like, I don't really want to do a confidant about trying to fuck a woman for the next 3 hours of my life. I mean, I'll do it because the perks are great, but I don't want to.
Yeah, a good comparison I feel is in Persona 5 when I forgot her name, the medicine lady.
Takemi. That is the one person I like.
Like when you go into her, there's always the whole thing of like, ooh, let me test stuff on you. You're my specimen. And like, yeah, hot, I get it. But compare that to, I guess, Persona 3, where you go and there's a bookstore and there's two elderly people there. They just run the bookstore. And you go in, you talk with them. And it's the most heartwarming thing. You're just giving some old people some of your time, like doing a good thing. And it doesn't become centered around you, even though you're the person going there. You just feel like you're having a nice chat and then you leave. Persona 5, whenever you talk to someone, it's like, like you said, like ego stroking.
You're the cool son.
Yeah,
I'm the one who found out that this place was a crypto scam. I'm the one that figured out your fortune-telling business was bullshit. Me.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just like, it feels too forced, right?
It doesn't feel, it is too forced. Like, the writing is ego strokey. It's, because, like, we can, like, even dive away from Persona to talk about this, because, like, we can go to, like, another JRPG. Let's just go take it to, like, a Final Fantasy. Like, let's go to, like, Final Fantasy X. Have you played that game?
I have not played a lot of Final Fantasy games.
Let me start listing off.
I can give you a game series that I feel like has kind of progressively gotten worse over time with all their like interactions. I think the social stuff is Fire Emblem.
Oh.
Christ
yeah, no, you're
almighty.
right. We could talk about... Yeah, we can, like... Yeah, oh, absolutely. I can immediately flash two different games and be like, that one is written way better. Fire Emblem Engage and Three Houses are substantially worsely written than Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn and Path of Radiance. And also Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. And also Fire Emblem the first one, and also Gaiden, and all of the new pandering stuff makes me you were like, what about Awakening? Awakening is written way better than Fire Emblem. And like,
Oh, 100%.
okay,
Awakening.
Three Houses is actually good. Never mind. I'm gonna take Three Houses out of the equation because Three Houses I actually would put it onto like the good rating. You go.
Yeah, so like I'll give 3 games as an example. Three Houses, I will say, does have a bit of a main character for like everything centered around him or her, depending on which you pick. But like
It
has
depends
its
on how
good
deep
and
you
bad
go into the game.
moments.
Yeah,
Then
for sure.
Then with like but instead of using Three Houses, like Three Houses is in that weird spot where it's like it's got good, but it's also got bad. But it's nice. It's overall lovely.
At least it's not Fates.
Oh, don't get me started. But
This is
so
our
I'll use
our podcast. We can.
Yeah, I'll use the first Fire Emblem game we got in the West, Fire Emblem 7, I believe. You know, Eliwood, Lady Lindis and Hector, love them. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Then, I mean, I'm also a little bit biased. I will state that just because that's the first Fire Emblem game I played. And then I'll use Awakening. And I'll use the latest one, Engage. So I remember the most rawest shit, right? From the first Fire Emblem game, where I remember having a conversation with my favorite character, Matthew. Love him to death. 10 out of 10.
Love him to death. Good character.
Like, their whole thing is... Oh, God.
Well,
everything's
they're a really nice
intertwining
person
in my
who's
brain.
a thief. They're a nice thief who actually has like good morality, which is pretty often the case in Fire Emblem games. A lot of the times, the thieves are the most endearing characters in your party because they're like just the normal people. This is the same case for fucking Matthew. Matthew is like the most down to earth person in that fucking game.
Oh, yeah. Matthew is lovely. But then Matthew also has like the sad, one of my like favorite backstory things or like story elements that pops up.
We're talking about their sibling?
Where with Matthew going through, you know, there's the 2 thieves, Matthew, and then there's Layla or Lila. And Lila, I forgot what it's called. It's like the Dark Isle or something like that. But there's where
I believe
all
it's
the
the Shadow Fang.
Is it the Shadow Fang?
I think it is the Dark Isles or the Shadow Isle or like, but the group is called the Shadow Fang, I think, or it's the Black Fang.
It's the Black Fang.
The Black Fang. Yeah, it's the Black Fang.
Yeah, so there's the Black Fang on, we'll just call it like the Shadow Isle. That's where they stay, and you go there the first time. Before you go there, there's Matthew and Layla. It is Layla, yeah. And they're 2 thieves, or spies. One of them is spying on the Black Fang, and Matthew is more like one of the 3 lords. Hector's like his more close personal spy.
He's Hector's like right-hand man, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. Hector has like 2 right-hand men, where there's like Oswin and there's Matthew.
Matthew is the younger one. Oswin is the grandpa general who tells him how to work things.
I'll talk about Oswin right after this because that's also fucking raw what happens with him. Wait, so you go through Oswin. And on the when you go to the island the first time to fight the Black Fang, Matthew and Layla are in a relationship. They've had multiple talkings before this that you can see their relationship. The first time you get to the island, you see her corpse pinned to a tree with an arrow. That is how you're introduced to the island. And from then, it's on. She might not be pinned with an arrow, but like she's been obviously killed. And immediately it's on. You know, you don't fuck around here. And so you go through, and now this like happy-go-lucky person has their first thing. And you find out later on that the person who killed them is an assassin named Jafar, for the Black Fang.
Who you can recruit, by the way.
Yeah, he's not inherently evil.
He's actually like he has a pretty interesting backstory. Okay, I'm going to interject and talk about Jafar, because Jafar also has an interesting backstory very quickly before we get... Jafar isn't really loyal to anyone. He's only loyal to, like, one person. And because of that, he's pretty much willing to do anything to make sure that person's safe. And that includes being an assassin, right? And once that person defects, Jafar joins your party. But there's like there's a lot of interesting dynamics, because everyone's pretty much like, this guy fucking killed my family member, I'm gonna kill the shit out of it. Like, Hector wants to murder the shit out of Jafar all the time. And like, Jafar knows this, so a lot of the dynamic play between, like, character play for Jafar is essentially him trying to deal with other people wanting to kill him in his own fucking party. Which is an interesting thing, and I'm not gonna go into depth with it, but Jafar is also an interesting character, but I'm going to let you talk about Matthew. I just wanted to interject and be like, Jafar's cool.
Oh, 100%. Like, Jafar's awesome, and that's what you said leads into a bit of what I was talking with Matthew, where when you first recruit Jafar, you know he's the one that killed Layla, and he joins your team. Matthew and Jafar's conversations, they never become friends.
Yeah,
there's no like,
they don't.
Oh my god, like, we fighting the same enemy, I forgive you. It's like their A support, I'm pretty sure, is like, look, you can stay on this team, but if you move out of line, I will fucking end you. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, it is on site with them. And they're just like two people on your team. And like, it's like, holy shit.
I'm gonna pull out. You were gonna talk about Oswin, but I'm gonna steal. You can get to Oswin in a. Holy shit! It's been like an hour. It's okay. An hour 30 minutes. I'm down for that for this podcast. But after an hour 30 minutes, we're gonna end the podcast. Unless you want a 3-hour long podcast, that would be fucking wild.
Look, if it's a good enough to be 3 hours, it's there for a reason.
Look, yeah, I feel like we could make this podcast. We could talk for hours, infinitely. Fire Emblem, Radiant Dawn, and Path of Radiance are euphemisms for racism and American slavery, and also like slavery that happened in Asia. But I have never seen a more well executed like conversational piece about like the horrors of slavery and the horrors of like animal cruelty, and also the horrors of dehumanization, and the horrors of war, and the economical effects of war on countries than those two games. It is the most insane fucking thing that the game's central story beats are basically like, war is bad because X. It's never like obviously Ike is the main character for both of the games, right? And Micaiah for the second game too. But the thing about the stories is the stories are revolving around them, and like that's what I think makes a good Fire Emblem story. The best Fire Emblem stories are the stories that are revolving dooring, like they have revolving doors that the main characters are walking through. That's the same reason why I think like Three Houses is really good, because it's split up into the 3 different houses, and regardless of what you do, things happen in those houses, and you change the outcome by being yourself in those things. The thing about Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn is, like all good stories, it pulls no punches. So whenever there's a genocide in a story, it needs to be handled with the utmost care, correct? Right? I don't think that's an insane thing to say. Modern day fucking movies need to learn a couple of things. Uh, Infinity War, Endgame. Um, those the central plot of the second game revolves around what people are willing to do for their family members and to keep them safe. And the entire war is a psychological like battle of warfare where one side is manipulating everyone to not want their family to be dead and everyone else is trying to kill each other so that their families don't die. Which is actually pretty accurate to the real reasons wars are fought. It's usually like there's one side that's like, we want money, and everyone else is like, I don't want my family to die. Please stop bombing us. So they go to war. And like, holy shit! I could go into like the insane amounts of allegory over how tastefully done that fucking game tackles racism and slavery and also like colonialism. But like, I'd be here for another like 4 hours. So tell me more about Oswin.
Okay, so with Oswin, there's the other right-hand man of Hector. Hector, best lord, also, by the way. But so with Hector,
how dare you?
Don't you dare say Lady Olyndus is the best lord.
No, I was gonna say Mr. Sprinkles McTwig is.
Elliewood? Fair enough. I'll take that. I love Elliewood too. But so Oswin, right? Hector's thing is that he is on Elliewood's army. And he's going around with him. And where Hector's from, his brother is like managing, but he's sick. Keep in mind, this might not be 100% accurate because I've forgotten a few details. But basically, like, he's sick. But he's still looking after the country that they're from. And you keep hearing little updates from Oswin being like, yeah, he's okay, he's fine. But every time you hear an update from Oswin, it gets a little bit more vague. So it's like, yeah, he's fine, he's doing good, he's like doing whatever. And then the second time, I think, it's a little bit more vague. And at the third time, in their A support, Hector just turns around and is like, you're lying to me. Just tell me my brother's dead. And
yeah, that was a very fucking real moment.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm more upset that you're lying to me than about, like, I would rather you tell me that my brother's died than lie to me about it. And you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, fuck. Like, once again, it got real. Like, the Fire Emblem game, the earlier Fire Emblem games do it so well. And you just, it just grips you every time.
I mean, in the remake of the fucking first game, you literally, in the tutorial, they're like, you have to make sacrifices in this game. So who do you want to leave to die?
Oh, God. Yeah,
Which is,
I remember that.
Funny thing about that, if you're on normal mode, the unit that you could choose to leave one of the shittier units, but because the unit that you're forced to leave behind on hard and above is actually one of the best units in the game. So, fuck. That's not really important to the story, but the point I'm trying to make is the first Fire Emblem game was like, yeah, everything fucking sucks. You lost people to get here. But then in the remake, they're like, also you get to choose who dies. Which is an insane thing for a remake to be like, yeah, actually it's worse here.
But, so with the conversations, and then we go to Awakening, right?
Right.
And it's
the third part of the droop.
The first injection, I will say, of weeb juice. But, like, it's respectable amount. It's fun. You go through it, and
there's
like,
only
you're
a
left with
dash
a
of
smile.
pedophile Pinocchios.
Yeah, we have to ignore that, but
I am not going to fucking ignore the pedophile dragons. You can't make me ignore the pedophile dragons. They exist. They will be noticed. I will be disgusted by them, okay?
I know it's always disgusting. Ugh.
It's not like there's no way. I hate that I made the pun. I hate that I made the pun. Nah, it's okay. I hate that I made the second pun.
I was waiting for that. But yeah,
context.
so like it's. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, context. Yeah. Context. There are two like children-looking dragon characters. Both of them have stupid names. The first one's name is No, and the second one's name is Nah. So half of their support conversations are just them like being like, "What's your name?" Nah. No, what's your name? Nah. What's your name? My name is Nah. Stop fucking with me. What's your name?
Yeah, I think it's Noe and their child Nah. But
Oh yeah, Naui and Nah.
yeah, the something that sucks is that with your main character, so all the adults can marry all the adults. However, the main character can marry any child
Fuck the children.
and then have a child with that child. So, like, you know, the 1,000-year-old dragon or whatever that is Naui. Yeah, you can, even though they look like a child, you can bang them. It's fine, I guess.
You can bang the child's child, which makes me uncomfortable to say out loud.
You can bang the child's child, and it's just like, oh, God, you know what? This, all of a sudden, I have to leave. Like, it's just never fun.
At least it's not the wincest fucking game storyline.
God.
I know. Well, they're all stepbrothers. Not true, actually. What do you mean? You can canonically fuck one of your actual cousins in that game.
Look, we don't
What
talk
do you
about
mean?
fates.
Why not? Oh, because it'll be another 4 hours.
It'll be another 4 hours.
It's not going to be our next It's not going to be our next podcast episode, but one of these podcast episodes is going to be like the nightmare episode where we talk about Fates. And it's just going to be titled Fire Emblem Fates. And it's just going to be dunking on Fire Emblem Fates' story for an hour and a half, while occasionally praising its gameplay because it has really good gameplay. And then going back to dunking on the fact that the story sucks ass.
But yeah, so like with the going back to talking about the social, they're not called social links, but I'll call them social links. Like, it's fun.
Supports.
You get through it. Supports, that's it. You get through it, and like some of them are like goofy, but it's the first dose of like goof. So you're okay with it. Like, you go through and there's like the obsessive Tharja, who I definitely didn't give. It wasn't my like first awakening into video game women.
There's no way that was your first video game crush.
It wasn't my first video game crush, but it definitely was a goth awakening.
Okay, well that's fair. Tharja is like not a classic goth, but she is definitely one of goth. It's like a, what is it? Is it a good game? It is a video game. Is Tharja a hot goth? She is a goth.
But like, yeah, so you have all those supports. You have some of the classic Fire Emblem staples are still there. So like, for example, the red and green Cavalier that you get every time. The old guy knight that like comes with you and is like super powerful, but then by the end of the game he's basically useless.
Actually, I'm pretty sure this Jagan is closer to like a Seth than a Jagan.
Yeah, probably. But he's still technically Jagan.
No, he's definitely a Seth.
Who's Seth? Let me search him. Fire Emblem Seth.
Wait, is he a Seth?
Seth is a Jagan.
Okay, well that's not okay. Seth isn't a Jagan because Seth is like Jagans are supposed to become useless. A Seth is not going to become useless. A Seth will remain pivotal and useful for the entire run. Just make sure it's not your only goddamn unit.
But yeah, so you have like those types of units. You have all like the classic notes hitting back. Awakening is a lovely game, and you still get like it's good. It's just lovely. It's just nice, and it's like the few game. It's like one of the Fire Emblem games where even if it gets like a little weebish, it's okay because it doesn't drown you in it. And then you get to engage, and I have not had a single sad thought in engage, and I don't mean like me. I mean like there has not been one problem in engage where like there has not been like one person is a little angry at someone else. You know, like you recruit someone from the enemy side and they're just all buddy with everyone. They're just like, oh my God, you're like a princess from like the other thing. Like, oh, let's talk, let's chat. And it's like, you were enemies a second ago. Is there no like fighting going on? Like, where's the rivalry? You were literally at each other's throats. Where's the like, hey, we used to be enemies, but I still don't trust you. Like, work up the support. Don't have them be buddy from first support.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, please stop trying. Please stop making the children characters horny.
Oh God. Yeah. Ugh.
Stop. Also, please stop making the characters horny in general in that game. There's no character depth, so if you keep making the characters horny, they're not going to have any character depth. Like, the issue with Fire Emblem nowadays is instead of putting effort into making the characters multifaceted and deep, they just stick one fucking character trait to them and call it a day. And that infuriates me because they used to do so much better. Every fucking game before Awakening did not have that issue. Okay, Shadow... The first Fire Emblem absolutely had that fucking issue, but that's different because the first Fire Emblem was also the proof of concept game, and they just kind of crammed as much in there as they could, and there are 50 billion characters in the game, and it incentivizes you to kill all of your characters.
Actually, I will say one thing in defense of Engage is that I do quite like the Jagan. I never used him because I know better, but like. He's the one goofy character that I don't mind being goofy because it reminds me of Frederick. Oh, for those who don't know, Frederick is so in Fire Emblem, Jagan is the character archetype that's like the strong guy. He's like he's a different. You can up.
He's the mentor that's supposed to die in the game.
Yeah, he's like the mentor that's like stronger than everyone else. He's an advanced class where you start as a base class, and as you get towards the end of the game, they're supposed to get a little bit like they're supposed to get more useless the longer you go. But they're meant to help you out at the start of the game if you ever get in trouble. Frederick from Awakening is a very good one. He's kind of stupid. And he's a bit like overprotective of the main lords from that game. And then that goofiness is also brought into the Jagan that is from Engage. I forgot their name, but like they're the only exception because it reminded me. I like it because it reminded me of Frederick. In isolation, I would not care for it.
I will say that Engage, even though it had like the cheesiest fucking story, it had some of the best combat I've ever seen in a Fire Emblem game. Oh my god. Holy shit, that being able to chain your goddamn characters together like that's so fucking fun. Oh, and also rings, like unironically, the rings is a great combat system, but they butchered all of the fucking characters. Have you seen Ike? Have you seen Ike in that game? It's upsetting. It's like
Yeah.
unironically upsetting. His body type is supposed to be huge fucking man. He's a slightly buff Japanese twink.
Actually, I will say something. Talking about the rings. So for those unfamiliar with Fire Emblem Engage, the whole point of Engage is you have these rings, and the rings contain like the spirits of the lords from previous games. So when we were talking about Fire Emblem with like Eliwood, Hector, and Lyn, Lyn appears in the game in Fire Emblem Engage as one of like the ghosts. And yeah, Hector appears as DLC. Not technically a ring. I think they're the DLCs. They're like, oh, they're a bracelet, but they still count. But one thing that I despise is you can have supports between characters, but you can also have supports between characters and the rings, and it is the most like they should have literally. I would rather them not have it than have it in, because all it is them going to talk to like their ring, and they're just like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing all right. I like fishing. Okay. And it stops. And I don't mean that as in like, it's a basic conversation.
What he means is the conversation tree of like the 3 supports is 4 sentences long, and each, or like 6 sentences long, with every single with the final thing being like, the character arc is, hi, I like fishing. I also like fishing. And the third one is, hey, do you want to go fishing with me? Sure, I'd like to go fishing with you. And you're like, please stop. I don't want this. Why are you talking about fishing?
Like, that's not a support. It's just a chat.
It's like, I love the character design for Etier, but I fucking hate that her only form of existence is buff. Like, I don't want, like, make her interesting. Don't make her grope a woman because buff. That's not, like, good character writing. Please don't. Oh yeah, also she gropes a person because she wanted to feel their abs.
Oh my god.
You didn't know that?
I mean, like, I think I remember it happening, but, like, I don't remember.
It's Boucheron.
Well. That's it.
It's either Boucheron or Panette. It's either Boucheron or... I think it might be Yunaka, too.
I think it's gotten to the point with Fire Emblem games where I'm buying them more so out of respect. Like, I used to go through all the Fire Emblem games and I would finish them. And now I've gone to the point where, like, I bought Fire Emblem Engage. I gave it a red hot crack. I initially started playing Fire Emblem because I love that, like, turn-based tactical RPG. But, like, you get a little bit into it, and then you're like, fuck, are we still here? Really? Like, hurry up. Where's the dramatic tension? Where's, like, the big bad evil that's coming in? So far, it's just like, woo, the big bad. And you go around and you recruit some guys and no one even cares. And I can't even be bothered to get to the end.
What chapter did you stop in that game?
I didn't necessarily stop. I just kind of like haven't gotten back to it.
If the character... Oh, yeah. Then you've seen this. Spoilers to the end of the stream, because after this, we're going to end stream. Well, not stream, the podcast. We are fucking streamers. I have streamer on the brain.
Hey, what's up? Subscribe to twitch.tv/Spiedel.
Where I never, ever, ever stream. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying?
Fuck, what was I saying? Oh. Yeah, if the character didn't get their fucking dick kicked in by the antagonist, that I would have dropped the game. Sure, it was predictable. It was boring. But at least something happened to them and they got real... I will say there's one thing in the main character's favor. After they get dicked over by that one particular character, they are suspicious of that character, unlike the fucking Fates protagonist who was like, "Oh yeah, you stabbed my dad? Well, oh, you want to be my friend? Cool, you can be my friend." He was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you think that we would be your friends after you stabbed us? No, seriously, what the fuck is wrong with you?" Like, I appreciate that the character rating stayed consistent there, but other than that, the story just felt...
Yeah. Can I talk about that for a second? So, spoilers for Fire Emblem Engage. The thing that you were just talking about is a character that you talk to, and she's very obviously like the main bad guy. You talk to him, and it's like, oh, damn, you have a similar color scheme to me. You have like the blue and red.
Except for just like evil colored.
Yeah, it's like the blue is like a cyan, and the red is pink. So you go through and you're like, okay, you're connected to me somehow. I don't know yet. And she's just like bubbly and friendly. And you're like, okay, cool. You have one nice conversation, and then you meet her a little bit later, have a second conversation. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, sweet. Cool, friends. I guess.
Already know where you're going with this, and I 100% agree with you.
The third fucking time you meet her is when, spoiler, she has split personality. She switches to evil and betrays you. You spoke to this fucking lady twice, and they're so like they're so dramatic about it. Like, it's funny, but it's so fucking stupid. They're like, yeah, you've betrayed me, and it's like, you talk twice.
What does the Thanos mean? I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, right. Like it's just like
that situation where it's like. And I think, oh my god, is canonically that's true because they have split personality, so they literally don't. So it literally is the Thanos meme.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so fucking... Ugh. And it's like one of the reasons why like I stayed with it a little bit just because it was funny, and then immediately as it wore off and I was like, okay, I don't care about it anymore. Like, you know, that was kind of it. I think in the game I got as far, like I just got the dancer guy.
Oh, Seagull.
Yeah, and then I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm done.
What the fuck was... Oh, you got Corrin, I think, was the...
Yeah, it's Corrin.
Did you get Tamara yet?
Mary?
Tamara.
Mara. I don't believe so.
The African lady.
Oh, yeah, I got there.
She's the best character in the game, and she has the best theme in the game, and I will fight you over this. Mostly because she has the best music in the game, and also she's a fucking idiot.
Wait, sorry, what's her name?
Tamara.
Tamara. Oh, yeah. You have to get the dancer person after you get Tamara.
Yeah. I just realized something. There are too many fucking royals in that game. There are like 10 royals, or like 12 royals, and you can't fit all of them on your team.
It would be nice.
All good.
It would be nice if they made it so that like for replayability, is your character roster can always accommodate for the royals, right? So it makes it very obvious that like, oh, you know, you can play with these guys. Like, make it like that. Don't make it so that they just keep giving you... Because keep in mind, every game, every Fire Emblem game, you always keep the royals. Like, they are the main characters.
Yes, it
always.
Gave me anxiety to get 12 royals and not have every single one be main-teamed.
Right? And not only do you have all these royals, each royal has 2 retainers. And then with that...
You know I'm mentioning half of them.
Yeah, like, it's just like you have so many characters, and I care about fucking none of them. However, I will say...
You don't even get the royals until like halfway through the game, too. And the best royal unlocks 2 fucking seconds before... They do this a lot, where, like, if I remember, the best unit is like to unlock 2 chapters before the fucking...
The final...
End of the game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I might play the game again and do the DLC just because the, like, extra DLC stuff is separate to the main story, similar to how it is for Three houses.
What was the fucking dumbest? I'm trying to remember. There's some insanely dumb set piece, like story beats that you haven't gotten to yet, where it's like you would have a stroke if you remember that. You don't know about this. There's a level where the enemy jump scares you.
What?
Yeah, the developers really went all out in the gameplay. So in one of the levels, they it's a fog level, right? And normally you're like, all right, fog level, just standard stuff. So you go and you explore around, and in one of 4 random corners, the boss just is sitting there.
Oh.
And he has 3 health bars. You cannot one-shot him, because he will teleport away once his health bar goes away. But he will fucking do boss damage to you as if he was next to you before in, like, the boss chamber. So you just put your healer there for the first time because it's behind and you don't see it, and then wham! Hi! And he fucking insta-shoots your healer and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, actually, I will say one thing in Pro of Fire Emblem and Engage, one of the best things it did was when you, so spoiler, you get some rings to begin with, and then at one point early on, they get stolen from you. And you are so used to like banking your fighting skills on these rings and the powers that they like have that when they get taken away from you, not only are all the enemies like pretty strong, like you can fight some of them, but you're on level playing field with them. You don't have your like people that you have before. Like originally you have like what Marth and everything, and then they get taken away, and you don't have that. And that's kind of like the plot of the game is you have to get them back and defeat the big bad evil. But you're tasked with a certain moment for like one map. It's not the entirety of the map too, but you have to deal with not having your special powers anymore and play Fire Emblem originally how it's meant to be played.
It is like a wildly drastic feeling.
Yeah, and
it
for
feels
once
so
you're
vanilla.
Worried. Yeah, it feels so vanilla. You don't have that like time rewind ability, I think, because it gets taken away from you.
Yeah, and you get it at the end of the fight.
Yeah, and so you just are left like alone and afraid. And it is such a raw, like just like, oh, right, we're back to Fire Emblem. And then later
yeah,
in the
it's
thing,
like a oh fuck.
Guys,
it's like such an oh fuck moment.
yeah, it's a wonderful oh fuck moment. And then like halfway through the mission, like some guys come in and they're like, yeah, we were like sneaking around and we stole the rings and like this gem thing that we found, which is like your time rewind ability. And then, you know, you kind of just leave and then you have the rings again. You don't have as much rings, but you still have them. And like,
you get
then
new
you're
rings.
just back to, yeah, you get new rings, but then you're also just back to playing Fire Emblem how it was originally.
You missed out on like the most difficult fights, which I think you would have liked them because there's some really wild fights coming up after the Seagull level. But, unfortunately, guys, it has been an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, I need to pee.
And I need to go eat my dinner and then go to bed so I can record and stream tomorrow. So thank you everyone so much for watching this podcast. If you would like to support us, you can support us both at YouTube and specifically on Twitch for Kit Coffee. I've been your host, Spiedel, and this is your other host, the cooler one, Kit Coffee. What? See you later at the Fuggin Whatever podcast. Fuggin Whatever.